That's fantastic. So it's like one of those red light beds that a lot of people are going and laying in, but you just have one that's at home you can use.
Yeah, it's like you get for a terrarium where you have like iguanas or something, some kind of reptile or a snake.
Uh-huh.
There, you just or a chicken coop where you have infrared lights to help hatch out the eggs.
Uh-huh.
You just put that in, and it really helps my health. It's because he was saying getting out in the morning sun at sunrise is really powerful. Well, I'm not. The only time I'm up at sunrise is I haven't gone to bed yet. I can do it quite frequently, actually. We go to bed often after 6 o'clock when we get sunrise at about 6 now. So I could go out. It's wicked cold. It was 3 degrees out there this morning. I'm like, I'm not going out there. It's 3 degrees. Even my doggy girl, who's only half Siberian, she doesn't have the huge undercoat. She goes out about 15 minutes later. Let me in.
I love that. It was 2 degrees here, so I understand.
It's really cold lately.
Yes, my dog walked out and looked at me like, yeah, you better be glad I'm a good boy because he went potty and ran back in really quick too.
And I'm tiling. I took out all the carpets because that holds that shedding stuff in too. And I'm tiling. And so I was sitting on the floor tiling. And then when I get done, it's best when you're doing that mastic and you're wiping up, the debris and the excess on the tiles and the grout lines to dump that water, not down, even down the toilet drain, but instead go out, swish the bucket around, dump it in the landscaping rocks I have in the back. And so I did that. And of course, my hands then wet. And I went and grabbed the doorknob for the sliding glass door, and my hand stuck to the doorknob. Oh, no! My hand froze instantly to the door because it's wet. I go, note to self, use your sleeve next time, wrap around, or a glove or something. It's like, oh, that was not pleasant. So, yeah, really cold. But we're
That's too funny that we're both kind of having the same experience right now.
Yeah.
And we didn't even talk. I'm remodeling my house and I'm fixing to have to do that on the backsplash on my cabinets. And I've had a guy here laying the floors this week. So we're in the same mode, sir.
Yeah, I actually do the tiling myself. I used to do construction for a long time after I retired. I did, you work for Habitat for Humanity where they build homes for people that can't afford them as the average. So it gives them a way less expensive. You're working with professionals who are donating, materials and time, and they're, of course, they know everything. They're professionals. So I learned how to do all that by donating my time and helping, and then getting in the process taught how to do it. So and then, of course, the Habitat restores are great because they have all those donated materials that weren't used as well for way less expensive than going to Home Depot or Lowe's or something like that. So,
yeah,
I went and got at, I think it was one of the big restores downtown, like a pallet load of tile.
Oh my goodness!
I'm talking the high end stuff. It's beautiful stuff, and so I put that down, and then back when I first learned that, when I retired in '94, they didn't have the levelers like they do now, where it stops you from having lippage as long as you're using about the same amount of mastic under tiles all the time. It will level out a tile, and so all of these, you can get ones with it keeps, you have spacers between your tiles, but the leveling system actually has different size where it does the spacing for you automatically. So the leveling system is really nice as well. It takes a little bit longer, but your floor is level. It's smooth, it's nice. And then, of course,
nice.
Yeah, and then you just break off the little spacers, and you can wash the wedges that go in there and use them again, and get just the leveler part, the spacer part. There's another bag for the next time you use the wedges. So, and there's a little tool. Although with my hands, I guess because martial arts, I don't think it's that hard, but I can snap them in tight as the tool can get it anyway with my bare hands. So it makes it really nice. Yeah.
Well, that is so awesome. I bet it's going to look beautiful. Is your wife going to be happy?
Yeah. And then like for concrete floors, I was using Schluter, which that's a learning process in itself. Watching YouTube videos, they tell you a lot, but they don't tell you everything you need to know. So there's a lot of learning curve. So like mastic, the consistency is way thicker than the Schluter is like, it's just almost liquid when you use the mastic. It's way less uh, mastic for the amount of water you use, and I wasn't used to it. It took some adjusting to get to use it right. But the Schluter is nice. If you're doing a bathroom floor, you can actually have it heated. You can run wire in between the squares on the Schluter, and then have it hooked to your power. So when you turn the light on, for example, in the bathroom, it'll heat your floor up too.
Yes, before I have I'm going to wait a minute on my bathroom, but I told my husband, I said, that's going to be my splurge. I'm going to have heated tiles, not going in like this old cold concrete's been.
Yeah, exactly. Because again, at the Habitat Restore, I bought these beautiful marble tile. It's only $1 per square foot too. It's just
wow.
Marble. I mean, it's just gorgeous. Be using that on there. I bought the Schluter already, and I've got already practiced on how to use it and put it in. And then also they don't tell you that if you're on concrete or you're on a subfloor, a wood subfloor, or a compound subfloor, there's different mastics for each and every one of those. So actually, when I put some of the tiles down, they came back up again after the tile had set. It popped back up.
Oh no.
Yeah, so I had to just throw those tiles away and clean the mastic off the subfloor. And I go, maybe it's not the same mastic for wood, plywood subfloor is for concrete. So, which I always used to do concrete, and I didn't know there's a difference. And then I learned the difference, and it is amazing because you put that other mastic down. If you have a tile break and you pull it up, it's a bear to get it off. But I was like, Da Vinci. I had one tile do it pop and came off, and I was in there like Da Vinci. I broke it actually, so I had to pop it off, break it up with a hammer, get it off. And I was in there like Da Vinci chiseling the basket off, doing a statue to not damage the subfloor. It was hard. I damaged a little. Even still, you can't even soaking it. It's still you can't do it flawlessly. But you can do some wood dough and smooth it out again and let that dry, and then you're back in business again.
Yes, all of that, it's painstakingly beautiful when you're done, but it sure is annoying when some of that stuff happens.
Yeah, and the beautiful thing about it is, like, carpeting lasts about 7-8 years, and you got to replace it. That's why I'm taking my time doing it. A really well done tile floor, you take your time, you do it level, you do your grout and everything very carefully, and pick your colors and pick what you want. And then, of course, at the edges, you have cuts, but that will go underneath. You take your baseboards off, you put them back on, or I'm putting on new baseboard, again, Habitat Restore, you can get new baseboard pretty inexpensively. And I found, like the corners, the edges, where two walls come together, inside edge and outside edge have a different angle. You think they'd both be 90 degrees. They're not 90 degrees. But that also, the wall not being 90, even the wall isn't 90 from one wall to the next, let alone the corner, because they have a metal strip in there. It changes the angle. But I have one wall where across a 5-foot entry wall, it changed by 5 inches.
I don't doubt that.
Yeah. So
I don't know that I have one level wall in my whole house.
Put a 90-degree angle to the wall next to the door and went out, and it was 5 feet from the wall on the other side, and in 5 feet it was 5 inches further away.
Wow.
Yeah, not like Japan where they build it's perfect, because they even build and put walls and roofs and everything on with no nails. And so there's a technique they do where they do that, and everything is built flawlessly. Boy, the U.S. homes are built terrible.
I was fixing to say, I have not been in one of those, I don't think, ever in my life.
It's amazing. That's why I loved when I went to Japan to look at all of their techniques, because you look at how they build it and what they build, it's just phenomenal. That, their techniques and, of building without any nails or anything else, and making the walls perfectly level and perpendicular, and perfectly perpendicular to each other, and then also perfectly 90 degrees from each other is amazing. But U.S. homes, that makes your tiling a challenge because you think your walls are 90 degrees, and across a 5-foot area, I have a tiled entryway. I did an inlay that's really gorgeous, but then when I went from the rest of the tiles and I started laying in it, it looks crooked to the wall. I'm going, how come it's so crooked? That's why I go, oh, I measured, the 5-foot entryway, and I go, it's 5 inches difference in 5 feet.
So that can make a big difference on a pattern.
So you have to kind of fudge it, What I did is I laid the tile and did the gapping differently from one end of the tile and one row to the next just slightly. So by the time I get away from the stairwell coming down from upstairs, you look down, you don't go, what the heck is wrong with the tile? You don't see it now. I got it adjusted. You have to fudge it in. Same when you put your underneath the baseboard and you do your angles, your cuts, you have to change the cut, and then because the wall is moving slowly away from you toward you, and then your corners you have to do either like a 46 or a 46 and a half inch cut or a 44 and a half inch cut, depending on inside and outside. Lots of stuff to learn.
Yes, sir. It is not for the faint of heart either.
Yeah, well, it's worth it when you get done because
it is. It is.
Last your lifetime in there. And if you get about a 10%, 15% overlap of the amount of tile you need to store it in the basement or something or in a shed, then if you ever have a damaged tile or something, you can bust it out, clean it up, put a new tile in there, and that floor will look excellent for your entire life. You won't have to do like carpeting, tear it out, which is a real pain. And, our carpeting, the people we had lay it, they didn't stretch it enough. And so in the parts of the house, where tile wouldn't do this, the carpet was wrinkling up. It's like it's stretching after they laid it. They should have pre-stretched it, but that's part of the problem with carpet.
I think a lot of people don't do that correctly. I've been in a lot of homes where it's kind of baggy.
Yeah, it's baggy. And then, of course, if you have dogs, and we get our dogs as puppies, and then our dogs, as a dog older, like all older mammals, they tend to have problems getting to the bathroom in time.
Uh-huh.
And she couldn't make it in time. And so when I torn up the carpet outside my room, she would be waiting, and I'd been in an interview, and I didn't hear her. And then she can't hold it. I get out there, and she went on the carpet, and I pulled the carpet up, and the subfloor has a stain. So I had to clean the stain and sand the subfloor down to get it out. Finally, I just had to sand it down. And of course, with a tile floor, again, you don't have that issue. It's just on the tile. You just wash it up, and it's clean. So there's so many drawbacks, and it's a tile floor for me is now the way to go. You can get little area rugs, as they call them. If you like rugs, like silk area rugs are beautiful and last forever. They get Turkish rugs and Persian rugs. Actually, over hundreds of years, they get more and more beautiful, and you can have them cleaned, and they last forever. And so, those, because you're just laying them down, you don't have that saggy, baggy look either. And you can wash and get that shedding stuff out of there, too. Easier.
Correct. Because I have a dog that sheds, and yeah, I decided this go round, I think I'm just going to buy cheap rugs and not even worry about how well they clean, and keep them for 4 or 5 years and then throw them away, because between dog hair and dog accidents and my dog's really good at hacking stuff up when he eats things he shouldn't.
Yeah, cats. Another drawback with that is that if you got in a new home and it was carpeted with, wall carpeting when you move in, they do not put down drop cloth when they're doing all the texturing and painting. And even so, when they took up the carpet, there was all kinds of the popcorn stuff on the ceiling. And
oh, wow.
and even like beer top pop tops in the floor.
Yeah. Yeah.
They would sweep the floor, or vacuum it before they put the carpet down. No, they just put. No wonder you clean your carpet over and over. You get tons of dirt. You clean it for 3.
Yeah, they put it down with dirt already under it. You're right. They do.
Carpet.
Yep.
So under my tile I had it, sanded down, so it is, and then washed down, so it is immaculate.
Nice. So it got not just a new facelift, it got a cleaning before the facelift.
Well, with a subfloor, you do have to sand it to some degree, and then I had to use window in other areas because it's not level. Or you can use like a cement board backing and put that down.
Yeah.
There's one for floors, and then there's one for showers and bathtubs and those kind of things. They're different for each kind. So anyway, Trina, nice to see you and nice to be back. And now that we're done talking about homes, which is good because there's so much going on, like finding the pilfered money in our through the Doge.
Did you ever dream that there was going to be I mean, I knew it was bad. We all kind of knew it was bad. But did we ever dream that just, like you said, USAID, just that one little piece that Doge has picked out and picked apart, with the billions that he's found there, is there any idea what we're going to find when we do Social Security or NASA or IRS? I mean, did you dream it was this big?
Oh, yes, I knew, because when I first woke up, there's a term they use in looking at security issues is if you want to find the fraud, you follow the money. So yeah. I know that. And in any investigating of anything, you follow the money. So they're saying the Doge Elon is illegal. It's, there's no precedent, on and on. That is completely not true at all. So I pulled this item up. This is Obama, Barry Soetoro, and here's what he was saying.
Budget reform is not an option. It's a necessity. The American people are entitled to transparency. We can't sustain a system that bleeds billions of taxpayer dollars on programs that have outlived their usefulness or exist solely because of the power of politicians, lobbyists, or interest groups. We're entitled to be able to figure out where their dollars are going, and we're entitled to accountability.
Yeah, so that's what the Doge is uncovering, is things that outlive their usefulness or just to enrich people. And the U.S. taxpayers deserve to know where their money is going, and it needs to be about keeping the country. The U.S. tax money should be used for the U.S. to make the U.S. strong. So here's the current Doge tracker.
There we go. Yeah.
Valentine's Day, $55 billion.
Wow.
And he saved in U.S. tax dollars. And
that's just crazy.
Yeah. I mean, it's amazing. And so now they're not talking, it's now official. Ariel said, they're looking at likely doing it. Actually, it is now being done. They're going to inventory Fort Knox, and the last time was 50 years ago, and they really don't have proof they even did it then. And I had said this long ago. Senator Lewis T. McFadden, the floor of Congress in the 30s, showed shipping documents once the Federal Reserve went into place in 1913 of $100 million a day going to the Carnegies, the Rockefellers, and other big groups to Swiss bank accounts in London, to the city of London. And now, because they know that Fort Knox is going to be inventoried, massive amounts of gold are being shipped back from London. The bank, hurry, put it back. We're going to get our caught with our pants down. So This is from Independent. Why are U.S. banks flying gold from London to New York? 8,000 gold bars have been moved out of the Bank of England's vaults. So you can see the Saturday, 15th of February. It's like, yeah, we know now, don't we?
Exactly. So you think when he goes in there, he's going to find what we should have in it?
Yeah.
Or is it still going to be short?
I don't think they're going to get it in there in time.
Okay.
I really don't think that's a lot of gold to fill Fort Knox up back to where it was. I don't think they're going to make it. And I think they know they're not going to make it. So I found this really fascinating too. This is posted by Ariel. You want the swamp grain? Here's what it looks like. Homes for sale in the last 14 days in the DC area.
Right? Is that not crazy?
Yeah, and we look at these are all multi-million dollars or a million and above. Of course, anything out there would be, but that's a lot of new sales.
Yep. That's a lot of houses up for sale.
Run away, run away.
Well, Trump gave a lot of them a pink slip in the last week, too.
Yeah. And then what is really, they're talking about the accounting errors, like you mentioned, Social Security. And this guy here put out a thing on the Social Security that is, for me, really fascinating. Let's see. And hard to understand exactly how this is the older millennial on X, and he's talking about the number of people in each age group for Social Security. This is really, really interesting. So let's listen to what he has to say.
This is the number of people in each age group who our Social Security Department says is still alive. We apparently have more than 6 million between the ages of 90 and 99. That's not even where the craziness starts. See, because we also have...
If you add up all these numbers, it's more than the people in the U.S. There's the problem.
Wow.
There's people from 10 to 19 pulling Social Security.
Wow.
Is that illegal? They found Social Security numbers with 3,000 people on one number.
That's crazy.
109, 3.6 million between 110 and 119. I'd like to remind you that the oldest person recorded on Earth right now is 116 years old. But that can't be true, because according to our Social Security Department, we have 3.4 million that are between the ages of 120 and 129. 3.9 million between the ages of 130 and 139, 3.5 million between the ages of 140 and 149, 1.3 million that are 150 to 100.
This gives me a lot of hope. I'll be pulling Social Security for a long time.
I don't think it's going to run out, do you?
I've got centuries to pull it.
We don't even have about 200, but we even...
Yes, 360 years old. How long has the U.S. been here? He was pulling it before the U.S. existed? This person...
Wow. Wow.
Holy smoke, talk about fraud.
They needed AI a long time ago to straighten some of that out where they might not get caught so bad.
Yeah. So it's just, amazing. And I think, Trump's new press secretary she is really quite amazing. So
she's a hot shot.
What's that?
I said she's a hot shot for sure.
Yeah, and she puts up with a lot from the press. So this is Trump's, I think is actually his ex-post.
I've been fighting fake news reporters all day long here in the Washington, D.C. swamp who are trying to fearmonger the American people into believing that this administration is going after their hard-earned tax dollars and their hard-earned Social Security checks.
See, they're trying to make it look like that fraud that they're uncovering, they're going to go after the common person's Social Security. That's not what's happening. Trump's even said he's not going to do taxation. He's passing the executive order for removing taxation on Social Security.
So I'm going to set the record straight on your show tonight, Sean, and I'm very grateful for the opportunity to do so. President Trump has directed Elon Musk and the Doge team to identify fraud at the Social Security Administration. They haven't dug into the books yet, but they suspect that there are tens of millions of deceased people who are receiving fraudulent Social Security.
And deceased for 360 years.
I
wonder Biden won. All those people are voting.
Right?
And so their goal in going into the Social Security Administration is to identify three things. Number one, to identify a duplicate payment.
That's what I said. They found illegals coming in, and they give them a Social Security number so that,
Uh-huh.
and a passport, it turns out, a U.S. passport.
And to end them. Number two, to identify payments that are going to deceased people who are no longer living and should no longer be receiving that money. And number three, to protect the integrity of this system for hardworking Americans who have been.
So it's actually protect the hardworking Americans who deserve it, paid into it all their life, worked hard, and, that goes into the people that came into this country and did not do anything. They come in and they get free everything. They get free Social Security. They get free, hotels or lodging and housing and stamps and everything.
Free medical care.
Free medical care. In California, spent billions just last year for illegals getting medical care.
And yet they will let someone that is a hardworking American that might have gotten cancer lose their home, lose everything they have, trying to fight a disease that most likely they created, and get no help. And we're American citizens. It just irritates me so bad that it makes me want to say bad words. So I almost have to leave that one alone, Gene.
Yeah. And then, talking about other things that they're inventory is FEMA. And Trump has said that FEMA looks like it can't be salvaged. And so here is an article from Chuck Callesto on X. Breaking report, FEMA's chief financial officer, Mary Coleman's, who is responsible for funding migrant luxury hotels in New York City, against the orders of President Trump, has been fired. Yeah, like you definitely should have been not doing that in the first place, and you deserve to be fired if you are. So there's the truth of what I was saying on that. And like I said, Trump is looking into ending FEMA because he says terminate it because it's too corrupt. And
absolutely. With seeing what happened to Lahaina and what happened to North Carolina and Florida during the hurricanes, and then the fires out in California, FEMA has no business being FEMA. They just don't do their job.
Yeah. And people keep saying, a lot of people are saying Trump is faking all this stuff. It's not real. He's actually setting it up for the New World Order. He is bringing in the New World Order. Then why would you get rid of FEMA? Why would you stand against, you put in an executive order against ever getting CBDC, against, FEMA and tearing it down when that's where the camps were going to be to round us all up and put us in? It doesn't make any sense. Not only that, but all 50 states executive order is being or has already been, I haven't gotten back to it to see, for carry, for the Second Amendment, be able to carry a weapon.
Yep.
So that's not how you bring a new world dictatorial, a fascist police state or whatever in. You get rid of the right to bear arms. And he also passed a executive order for free speech. You get rid of free speech, and all of this, kind of thing coming out. So, I've recently heard a interview that was the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard, where it was Rubio, and he was being interviewed on Face the Nation. And in that interview, the lady said that free speech was weaponized. It was tragic. So let me share that. It's the stupidest thing even for mainstream media. This is stupid beyond belief. This is Scott Moorfield posted this on X. And I just got to share this. Rubio was eloquent in this, but it is beyond belief stupid.
That's actually a pretty historic speech, whether you agree with him or not. I think the valid points he's making to Europe is we are concerned that the true values that we share, the values that bind us together with Europe, are things like free speech and democracy and our shared history in winning 2 world wars and defeating Soviet communism and the like. These are the values that we shared in common. And in that Cold War, we fought against things like censorship and oppression and so forth. And when you see backsliding and you raise that, that's a very valid concern. We can't tell them how to run their countries. We simply expressed in a speech his view of it, which a lot of people frankly share. And I thought he said a lot of things in that speech that needed.
He was talking about the speech of J.D. Vance at the conference at Munich.
He said, and honestly, I don't know why anybody would be upset about it. People are a lot, you don't have to agree with someone's speech. I happen to agree with a lot of what he said, but you don't have to agree with someone's speech to at least appreciate the fact they have a right to say it. I mean, you should listen to it and see whether those criticisms are valid. I assure you, the United States has come under withering criticism on many occasions from many leaders in Europe, and we don't go around throwing temper tantrums about it.
Well, he was standing in a
So now listen to what this lady says. It is beyond belief.
country where free speech was weaponized to conduct a genocide. And he met with the head of a political party.
Now realize this speech was given in Munich, Germany, so she's referring to Nazi Germany.
That had far-right views and some historic ties to extreme groups. The context of that was changing the tone of it. And you know that the censorship
I have to disagree with you. I have to disagree with you. Free speech was not used to conduct a genocide. The genocide was conducted by an authoritarian Nazi regime that happened to also be genocidal because they hated Jews and they hated minorities and they hated those that they had a list of people they hated, but primarily the Jews. There was no free speech in Nazi Germany.
Yes, and I recently finished reading a book written during that time, 29 through 1935, by a woman in Germany. And you had to have papers, travel papers, just to go to the store. They'd stop you, the SS would stop you on the street. Your papers, please. And there was a man executed in public for a caricature, the cartoon caricature of Hitler that Hitler didn't like. So they executed him in public. So much for freedom of speech and all of this. That's not even remotely true.
Well, I got news for you. If Trump was that much of a control person, there's been a lot of characters of him over the last 8 years.
Yeah, that's for sure.
He would have been executing people left and right if that was a problem for him.
Yeah, be like the Clinton list. So,
exactly. I don't think the Clinton list is done. We still have people in Arkansas that keep disappearing or showing up not on the right side of the dirt anymore. So I don't know how far reaching they continue to be, but over the last year or so, we've still had a couple that feel like they're tied to that situation.
Yeah. And so, speaking of the Clintons, the Durham report is out.
Right, yes.
More years, but it is out. And what has come out about the Clintons is quite amazing on that. I'll play this little items. I'll click through some of it. It's quite long, so I'll just move through it quickly. As you can see, it's on X at James Fleikert.
Fox News alert, it only took 4 years, but the Durham report is finally dropped. And he found out what everybody already knew. The whole Trump-Russia collusion story was a giant hoax started by Democrats.
And paid for by USAID.
Yep, it was a hoax. The CIA knew it was a hoax. And Barack Obama knew it was a hoax. Everybody knew it was a hoax the whole time, but they acted like it was real. The CIA knew when they started the Russia collusion story, and then went in and told Barack Obama all about it. But she was trying to link Trump with Russia to distract from her email scandal. But this is the best part, the P-tape. You know what they said in the Steele dossier? That Trump peed on prostitutes at the Ritz-Carlton in Moscow? Well, at first we thought that everybody got the Russians to make the story up. But it turns out Hillary's guy made up the PP tape lie, and then they just pinned it on a Russian.
Yeah. Not only that, let me move forward here to the Clinton Foundation.
Idea. And what else did we find out from them? Well, we found out the FBI shut down 2 investigations into the Clintons. 2. First, 3 separate FBI field officers said, wait a second, the Clinton Foundation is a foreign money laundering scam. We should probably look into it. But then indicate
Foreign money laundering scam.
Yep.
Found
Yep.
remember Andy, the guy married to the Clinton daughter? He calls everybody in and says, guys, the Clinton Foundation's off limits. Second thing they shut down.
That's impeding justice, by the way. That's illegal.
I wonder how many's actually tied to all of that mess.
Mhm.
Hundreds of people.
Yeah. So let's move a little forward here.
The Hillary Clinton campaign was taking illegal contributions from overseas.
That's illegal too.
Yes.
Informants caught. Hillary's campaign said, yeah, we'll take your money. We don't care. Albania, Morocco, just send us the checks. So we rose up the flagpole at the FBI headquarters and they said, shut it down.
Illegal campaign contributions.
Yep.
No investigation into Hillary Clinton's foreign campaign. Then. We're not going to go there. We have to frame Trump as a traitor instead. So John Durham also found a few other funny little nuggets that squeaky clean James Comey couldn't wait to spy on the Trump campaign. He kept asking his underlings.
So you can see there's a lot going on here.
Yeah.
Forward to Barry here.
What they tell you, media loves to say, well, you know, this is just the FBI. This is just the Department of Justice. What they never tell you is this is the Obama administration preventing investigations into Hillary and greenlighting fake and illegal investigations into Donald Trump. But Barack Obama gets out there and he lies to us about the whole thing.
I can guarantee that not because I give Attorney General Lynch a directive. That is institutionally how we have always operated. But I do not talk to the Attorney General about pending investigations. I do not talk to FBI directors about pending investigations. We have a strict line and always have maintained it. I guarantee that there is no political influence in any investigation conducted by the Justice Department or the FBI, not just in this case, but in any case.
So Barack Obama.
So we were talking about rugs. I wonder if he was related to somebody who was in a rug factory because he lies really well.
Gets briefed by the
Right? I mean, I was sitting there thinking the same thing. Does he ever tell the truth?
Yeah. So he lied. He spied and lied. So we see the Durham report. You can go find this on excellent item to go through and listen to all of this. But man, it is coming out now, and a lot of I've seen in the people sent me in the social media. A lot of people are really, really angry about how we've been lied to and all of the money that's been hidden and stolen from us, and what our tax dollars through USAID have gone to pay for, and it is just overwhelming how bad it has been. So.
It feels like we've gotten a win, but it also feels like the way they've orchestrated it, and I could be off, and I can't remember in all of our conversations whether we ever discussed Nicera and Jacera, but I told everybody on our show this morning that it feels like they have found something that would be acceptable to the public, that by using Doge, they can roll out some of this plan that was part of Nicera and Jacera that will look like they're just cleaning house, but yet it's actually putting that into effect. Do you see that?
Absolutely. This is why Trump is talking about sanctions not sanctions, excuse me, tariffs,
Uh-huh.
rid of the IRS, because and that's why he was part of the comms in renaming Denali Mount McKinley. And he talks about that McKinley made the country so wealthy, they couldn't figure out how to spend it all. And this is before the income tax and the IRS and the Federal Reserve. So he passed on to Teddy Roosevelt such a surplus that Roosevelt started the national park system as a way to invest in America with all that money that we had at that time. And so every single country or big, huge empire country like the US or Rome, when you start taxing internally, you're eroding the internal work and structure of the country itself. And so the first thing you start to see is what are called clad coin, where the coin is not silver or gold anymore. It has just it's mostly like a slug, a zinc or a copper slug with a coating on it where it's clad in silver or gold, but it's not mostly gold. So, if Elon does what he says with the Doge and does this Fort Knox inventory, and he's talking about it being a live stream where it'll be aired live as they go through there. They should also melt some of that down and see if it's cut it and see if it's not clad red bars.
Yeah. And it's not just dipped in gold, right?
It's lead dipped in gold.
Yep.
Because is it really gold in there? If it's in there at all. So
I think all of us in this truth community will be thinking that exact same thing. Is he going to melt one? Can he go through a couple of pallets and go, just skip around and melt a few?
Exactly. I want to go and see what's really in there. So
I hope he does it live. It'd probably blow up the internet, though. Everybody would be watching.
Yeah. So let's listen to just a little bit more on the what Durham has found out.
Okay, but hey, Hillary, how does this draft look to you? Does this look all right to you? And Hillary's campaign was like, yeah, that was good. I'm going to add some signing off on. Remember, the New York Times got Pulitzers for this. So they're getting awards for fake stories, and Hannity gets nothing for telling the truth. He doesn't get like a plaque or anything. And not only that, the Biden administration obstructed the Durham report. A bunch of FBI
Obstruction of justice. That's That's precedent. The previous
agents, lawyer to Joe Biden, Hillary, and Barack refused to cooperate with Durham. They didn't even sit down with them.
So there is that. And, she's fabricating lies. Sounds good. Yeah, let's put that one out too.
Do you think that she really believes all of her lies, or do you think she just thinks she has enough power that she's untouchable?
I think it's just about power and control. Same thing with John D'Souza goes into who Barack Obama really is. That's why I call him Barry all the time, Barry Soetoro. So back that up.
2008, something unbelievable happened for us in the FBI. We were getting lots of rumors about this high-level asset that worked for several intelligence agencies at the same time. He worked for the Saudi Intelligence Service. He worked for the CIA, and he was being developed as a political actor in Chicago, Illinois. He's not even a United States citizen, but it was said that he was a student visa and that he was a national from another country. In 2008, everyone in the intelligence structure found out the...
And you can see where this is pulled from also. It's for those that want to find this. It's being posted here on that of John Dunlap.
It was this individual whose name I don't actually, who became president in 2008 of the United States. And I was faithfully execute the office of President of the United States, the office of President of the United States. One of his code names was one of them. His real name was Barry Soetoro, but he adopted a different name for his political career. When they ran him for president, the cabal, basically, this was the culmination
of so many of their plans for so many years. His mission was to destroy the United States from within, one institution at a time. One of the things he did, of course, was he defunded our military. He brought down the resources that they've got. But then he ordered our military in many, many instances and in various theaters to attack our allies and to defend and supply and help our enemies. That's exactly how he created ISIS. And he would say publicly that the military were going to bomb our enemies. But then he would have the military actually bomb enemies of ISIS, our allies. He gave ISIS funding and equipment by basically ordering our military to take equipment into a certain theater and then abandon it. And the commanders would say, that's ridiculous. We'll just be handing that stuff over to ISIS. And
so when we left Afghanistan, Trump talks about this. Instead of filling the planes up with half a tank of fuel and flying them, they just left them there. So this is, arming other countries and these terrorist groups and all of this.
That whole from 2008 to what, 2016? Would that be right?
Yes.
Okay. That whole plague on America that he did with the DEI, we didn't have a racist problem anymore in America, in my opinion, until he became the president.
Yes, and then, of course, the social experiment in the U.S. military was the DEI.
Yes.
And I'm so glad that Trump got rid of that. It was like, and I am really glad I served in a time before that, because I'll tell you what, in a submarine, to have some guy in a dress in my section, and you're so cramped in a submarine, and sometimes you wind up, you're sitting down and you don't have hardly any room, and they're walking right by your face.
Yep.
Walking by my face in a dress. I mean, the lower hem of the dress is my eye level. Is that what we're saying? It's really disgusting and disturbing. So, yeah, there has been, this, and the USAID, again, the United States, it's not USAID, it's USAID, it's Agency for International Development. Development of what internationally? DEI. So all kinds of DEI stuff all over the world, as well as a lot of insane stuff. Like there was a guy that called the Turquoise Foundation. His wife had a Turquoise Foundation thing she was teaching Afghani impoverished women about the decrepitude of American art 100 years ago. That's something really valuable to the American taxpayer. But I mean, here's another item by Thomas Massey on X, and this kind of lays it all out here.
Yep.
So Schoenberger, can you explain how you traced USAID funding that served as the basis for whistleblower report in 2019, which led to the impeachment of President Trump? So you may remember that the so-called whistleblowers in the White House was actually a CIA analyst, and in that whistleblower's complaint, which led to the impeachment, one of the central pieces of evidence was created by a USAID funded and controlled organization called the OCCRP. And we have another piece out today about how it participated in the Russiagate hoax as well, essentially very important information leading to that. So when you have in USAID a much larger fund of money and a much broader strategy for information control that included censorship, but also, as I mentioned, taking control of investigative journalism really worldwide. I mean, its ambitions were, amazing. So yeah, I mean, that's an agency. When we saw that get shut down by DOJ, I thought that was completely appropriate. If there's something in there that it was doing that's valuable, then you could refund it later. But my view, same thing with CISA, death penalty for organizations that participated in violations of the First Amendment like CISA. Cybersecurity is an extremely important function. It shouldn't be contaminated and undermined by censorship activities.
I think it's always been known that our government has funded the change in administrations, if we can say it politely, of other governments. But isn't it borderline treason when the taxpayer when organizations entrusted with protecting our country are now undermining our own government?
Absolutely. I mean, if you're trying to do regime change, illegal, if you're weaponizing DHS, FBI, CISA, that's treasonous regime change activities redirected, that you developed abroad, that we developed abroad for regime change, directed against the American people and our representatives. I mean, it's shocking, and we still haven't dealt with it as a country.
And it's not borderline treason, it's out and out treason.
That leads me to a question, and I know I've went over on our time a little bit, but I would love for you to answer this because you do have a past military experience. We've seen from the aerial views that Guantanamo Bay has been, revamped and added onto and increased in size. Do you truly feel that Trump or any of the military will ever let us know exactly who got dealt with or who's going to be dealt with over treason?
Well, to say exactly would mean you have the full list of every single individual. I don't think we'll get that. I do think we'll get a lot of the high-profile people that have been executed and gone through military tribunals, and that'll be coming up, I think, during this term. I think it's very likely that they'll start to see it. We do know Courthouse 3 was built for $4 million at Guantanamo, at Gitmo, and I heard that it's built on top of the old YMCA, and it's him trolling every time he plays YMCA at the end of
Yeah.
people, YMCA. It's like, yeah, because you're saying, and he said he caught them all. So that's what I feel is going on, is that it's not, if you were to say, like we just heard, Barry Soetoro is not born in the U.S. I believe he's born in Nigeria, as was Bush Sr., born in Germany as Schurf, his last Schurf. Well, if you're not a born U.S. citizen, you can't be naturalized to be a U.S. president. It's in the Constitution. That means you're an illegal president, which means you have not the lawful ability to sign into law anything, whether it's an executive order or something that went all the way through Congress and Senate. If your signature is on it, it's null and void. So that means the Patriot Act, for example, from the results of 9/11, and now it's coming out about, and all that's being declassified, the Kennedy assassinations, and the Martin Luther King and 9/11. And in that, Mossad and Netanyahu are deep in that. That's coming out already. And then a lot of things are just really, coming and showing out. And they were funding, USAID was funding regime change, as you heard. But also now Trump is choking off the National Endowment, which is the other part of regime change in foreign countries, the National Endowment for Democracy, as you can see in this article in the FP, that he's locked down the instrument that was a bloodbath during the Cold War. But and this is just posted here on this month of the 12th of this month of this year. So it's all coming out, and I feel that eventually we will hear the majority of what happened in Gitmo. Not maybe all of it, but everything is coming out. So it's just a matter of time. Like you can see here, Elon is taking on this name. But
I saw that the other day. I showed it to my husband. He goes, "Oh my Lord!" I go, "Right."
It's this week. It's hilarious. Oh man, big time. But the legacy media is receiving untold billions of dollars, and that's not just the U.S. Through the USAID, 5,000 media outlets in the political BBC. That's why I said not just the U.S. 90% of Ukrainian media is funded by USAID, so it's nothing but a propaganda. New York Times, it's a propaganda rag. That's all it is. $500 million worldwide industry of propaganda and censorship through USAID, and it's just.
So they wonder how we actually spread COVID and shutdowns. That right there is how it got spread, was the media.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So it's crazy, sir. I can't even. We couldn't have wrote this script to have worked out the way it's working out right now.
Yeah, I totally agree. That to see all of what I was telling people all over them for years, that like the big sporting events, for example, are all fraudulent, and they're not really what you think they are. What goes on at them. So here is from posted to the FBI: a man admits transporting minor to Super Bowl for prostitution. So that's posted by Shadow of Ezra. Reposted. It's from the FBI website. So we see what's really going on in the world and really coming out now. And then people have heard about J.D. Vance's speech at the Munich conference as well, and he pretty much laid it out to the Europeans, and that's what that lady was saying, the stupidest thing, that free speech was weaponized in Germany. But it's also that they do not want the money laundering to end. They want, for example, the war in Ukraine to go on forever. And Europe for one, in a big one like against Iran in the Middle East. So that they can have a war forever for every single generation, because the military-industrial complex thrives on, it's a money laundering scheme. And Tucker Carlson has already said that he knows, he has a source, he knows that over half the weapons, and there's other outlets now saying the same thing, and people that went to Ukraine, it did not go to fight the war in Ukraine. They got loaded up in just regular people's vans and vehicles and taken to Poland and other places and sold into the black market, taken into the cartels in Mexico. And people are asking, well, if we're going to take out all these cartels, we're going to curtail them in the Aurora, Colorado thing, and in all these cities and ship them. Won't they go to war with us because we're cutting into billions of dollars of revenue for them, taking over apartment buildings, running them like the mafia, fentanyl, all of that? Well, actually, yes, we were already dealing with that. In Colorado, up in the mountains of Colorado, they've been training special forces for a few years, and now it's been posted on X and other platforms as well that the U.S. Special Forces are engaged in Mexico against the cartels. Instead of waiting for them, you don't wait for your enemy to come, you take it to them. In this case, you have to, because they have the weapons from Ukraine. And so, in all these other places. So, these endless wars and all of this, where the weapons and the money, over $300 billion to Ukraine, and what do we have to show for it? Millions of dead Ukrainians, and hundreds of thousands, at least 100,000 or more of dead Russian people, good men, fighting for what? A fascist Nazi regime, dictatorship that suspended elections, arrested priests and monks, burned down and seized the properties of the churches. Isn't that the same thing that happened in World War II in Germany? And there's no freedom of speech there either. You don't have freedom of speech in Ukraine, and you certainly didn't have it in Germany in 1930s. And so the truth is coming out about all of this. And, now we have a lot of really powerhouse people in the cabinet this time. That Cash Patel, I think, is the last one coming in, the 17th one, interestingly enough.
And we're going to expect to see that in the morning, right, sir?
I certainly hope so. For DNI, for Tulsi Gabbard, that is fantastic. And this gentleman as well, in saying it the way it is, and telling the truth. Here, I'll mail online. No, for Ukraine, no NATO membership. No return to pre-2014 borders. No more relying on the U.S. America's bombshells below to Ukraine as Trump begins to, negotiations with Putin, which he has already done in Saudi Arabia. And the Europeans Union and Zelensky are extremely upset because they were not invited.
Exactly. Everybody keeps saying he didn't go, he didn't show up. But I don't think he got invited, y'all. I mean, I put that out on my deal. I never saw where he got invited.
Yeah, he didn't get invited. He showed up, but they talked to him, but not with Putin and Trump there. Putin and Trump talking with the Saudis and as mediators. But they are ironing out, and they put a list of what they're ironing out already. And it wasn't just Ukraine. It's economics, of, for example, relieving and removing the sanctions. Already Visa and MasterCard are talking about going back into Russia. It's good for the U.S. business. It's lifting the sanctions is good for the U.S. Maybe not so good for Russia. It seemed they did better under the sanctions. Their economy went better. It became more powerful. but they're going to do it. So, all of these lies about everything we've ever been, that's been put out in the mainstream legacy media, it's just projection and lies beyond comprehension. And, there's so many things that have been false and lied to, and it's just wonderful to see it, all the truth coming out now. For example, people were saying, I kept saying about the underground bases and the underground tunnels and all of this. And, recently Mel Gibson was talking about the adrenochrome in Hollywood. He's been made a ambassador by Trump and revealing all of that. And saying that Tom Hanks' home wasn't burned down because it's the height of the tunnel system. And Nina Rodriguez on his platform was interviewing a Hollywood person. And actually she slipped and said they wouldn't let her back into the home. They had to climb over fences and go through this maze of tunnels. Back into their home. Yeah, maze of tunnels in LA, huh?
Interesting. Well, I caught a thing the other day, and it was actually a woman speaking about that there's an underground city in Hollywood, in LA, that people rent storage places and have stores down there and coffee shops down there. It's like a whole underground city.
Oh, you mean like what Truth Seeker's posting here on X?
Yes. And that may have been the one I shared.
We go about our lives on the surface above. It's real, and it's right here in the United States.
Subtropolis.
Yep.
Subtropolis. Decades ago, limestone was mined here for concrete and asphalt. What's left is space. A lot of space.
Okay, so what's down here right now? We have 60 million square feet of buildings leased to 55
I was making all this up, was I?
Lease. There's 1,700 employees that run around here and go to work every day.
It's a massive industrial park, all underground. You ever worry that the world could go tumbling in upstairs, and you guys are just prudentially safe, toiling away, right? I feel like Fort Knox, where security is a big selling point. Subtropolis is basically disaster-proof. Another selling point? Subtropolis is always 65 degrees. Always. What better place then to put a room full of computer servers? There's a lot of cool stuff in Subtropolis, especially in a company called Underground Vaults and Storage. What are you going to show us? We're going to show you Hollywood, right behind these doors. Inside, aisle upon aisle of TV and movie treasures, sent here by the studios for safekeeping. From the National Archives to food distributor Harris Brothers, the occupants of Subtropolis praise the predictability, But doing business in a place where the sun never shines, more sense.
So there you go.
Yes, exactly what I mean, I guess the only thing you'd worry about down there is if there's really honest earthquakes, because I guess that could mess everything up either way, right?
Yeah. I don't know. It's pretty solid, it looks to me.
Oh, the things that we don't know, Gene. The
Yep.
questions that we still have, right?
And I just recently got sent this. There's a home COVID test that you can do. I didn't know this. So here, let's listen to this lady on TikTok at Justagram.
And told me about a home COVID test. I'm going to share it with you, so follow along. It could save your life. Open a can of here. Now what you do is you smell it, and then you taste it. If you can smell it and taste it, you don't have COVID-19. Last night, I tested 19 times. All came back negative. Tonight, I'm going to do the test again because I woke up with a headache. And I thought I might be coming down.
Yeah, I wonder if maybe.
I wonder what she was coming down with. Is it maybe a hangover?
Maybe the test didn't give you that. I'm just saying, I hate beer. But anyway, that's like.
That is too funny.
Coming out with is so hilarious on USAID. A lot of people are losing their jobs because of funding for crazy stuff like transsexual opera and dance in Guatemala or something like that is no longer happening. And somebody posted on social media. I saw somebody sent me that. Unfortunately, they were part of a group that was researching a question I've wanted to know the answer all my life. And they were on the verge of getting the answer, and then it unfortunately was fired, and they lost their funding. And so we'll never know how much wood could a woodchuck chuck if a wood could woodchuck wood.
Exactly. And that just breaks my heart. Totally breaks my heart.
And why do the wheels on the bus go round and round? That was another one I saw. So many people have such an amazing sense of humor, But it's
I'm
just
just pissed off that the last 4 years that we've done these shows like this, that we did not figure out how to set up a good enough account for us to get a funding from the USAID to where we got some of that money. I just can't figure out how we didn't know that we could have gotten some money for doing all of this.
yeah, it's
I mean, they paid everybody else to do crazy, bizarre things. I mean, worried about finding colors of the rain, and I'm just exaggerating there, but I mean the bizarre things that they paid for. Stuff on Sesame Street over in the Middle East, $22 million. Are you kidding me?
yeah.
I just it makes me angry that they have harmed our country and the people in our country that needed the money.
Yep. And, the fact that that money could have been going to put people up in hotels that lost everything in the hurricane in North Carolina.
Yes. Or at least got them heaters for the campers they were staying in,
Or the people in Lahaina that lost everything. Or the people in LA. I'm not talking the Hollywood stars. I'm talking the track homes. Where people
Absolutely. Offered, people like $2,000. And not to mention, they've never even said anything about the children that disappeared from there.
Mm-hmm. That too.
And that just goes all over me. And
She's in too.
Yeah.
there's just a lot of things about all of this that, it still wraps back to the children. And you and I hadn't talked really since the whole hurricane thing in North Carolina. But the more you dig and the more you realize that flooding started up around Asheville and happened at Biltmore. And the more you figure out that there is actually one of the largest Wiccan communities in Asheville with actual shops on the main street in Asheville, everybody wanted to only look at the minerals that were under the earth, that they were trying to possibly take control of that for the government. I think all of that was built in conjunction with the power that those minerals give the sorcery side of things over there. And there was a lot of sacrifice, a lot of lives sacrificed in that whole deal. So I think that's all tied to some of that. The supernatural's tied to some of that stuff too, don't you?
Absolutely. In the national park system, there's a whole lot of, because of the funding and the Doge and all of that, there's a lot of national parks employees that are being laid off, but they're talking about they have a lot of knowledge about portals and other energy areas within the national parks of things and chimeras and all of this, because there's domes underneath national parks. And I even experienced this in a drive I had to go up and stay at a resort in the mountains. And as I've done this all my life, gone up that highway. And it was winter. It was, the New Year's holiday. And the road was closed, and it was a huge diversion, covered in snow. It's a narrow road, 2-lane highway, no shoulder at all almost. And they're saying they're doing shoulder work. I go, on what shoulder? And so the flag people that were waving me off, I'm looking on them. This guy looks like Michael Jaco. Oh, he looks like a Navy SEAL. He's huge. This is a flagman for the highways department. I don't think so. And so I got up to the resort, and they stayed open late so we could check in late. And a lot of people were checking in late because of that huge diversion off of the highway. And I asked him, I go, about it. I said, that's a national forest area. And I know that in national forests there are things like Bigfoot and other things. He goes, I can't speak to that. And I said, you can't, or you're not allowed to. And he just kind of looked at me, and I could see by the look that I had discovered what the truth was. And that's what they were doing. Those were special forces cleaning out some of the dark creatures that the cabal has created in those underground facilities.
Wow. That's the stuff I don't know that they'll ever tell us.
Yeah, there's so much that, for me, if we learn about what the truth is for some of the tribunals of that information, the Kennedy assassinations, Martin Luther King, 9/11, some of these things, and also to get the money that we paid back to us, those of us who pay taxes all our lives, like they're saying here on Shadow of Ezra. I will play this little snippet here.
Florida. And she says, Harris, could the government give all the taxpayers a refund from the money they're finding that went to places it never should have gone? Yes, that is the next step. And that is the next natural step. When you're finding all of this money, when you are taking it back, when you are cutting off future streams of funding, give that back to the American people. Then you will see the economy absolutely explode. And people will once again be able to take out new loans and start new businesses and all the wonderful things that follow when they have more of their own money. This is from a viewer who reached out to me.
So, absolutely, like you were saying, Trina, to get this money back to those of us that paid it and to remove the illegals, because come into this country legal and do your work and do what everybody else does to earn what you have. and not get a free handout, a free hotel, a free Social Security, a free medical, a free food stamps, everything
Yep.
to you. And it's, for real. They are doing it massively. So I was driving to a reservoir that I like to hike around with my doggy girl. And it's way out there. So you take a country road, it's 2 lanes, you go out there, and sitting on the side of the road at a perfect 90-degree angle, looking at everybody really carefully driving by, is an ICE vehicle. And I go, so you're perfectly made so you could go left or right and pull someone over. And then a day later, after that, on the main road in the city were 4 vehicles with a paddy wagon covered so you couldn't see it. And they had the cars pulled over, and they were pulling people over and checking for IDs and arresting illegals. And then while I was at that reservoir hiking, I've been out there many, many times, and it's pretty quiet. It's on the approach to a regular airport, so about every 5 minutes you do have a jet going over, but the rest of the time it's so far out there, it's pretty quiet. But that time it wasn't quiet at all. Every 30 seconds there's a plane pulled over. I'm looking at the planes. They're not commercial airliners. They're U.S. Air Force in their, then there's a black Cessna flying a grid powder and a helicopter going the other way flying a grid powder, a U.S. Marshal driving around the edge of the fence line with a large, one of those silver Airstreams, and then next to that was a large orange with bars on the windows vehicle sitting there. I go, they're not kidding. They're rounding these people up, blocking them away, and sending them out every 30 seconds. Wow.
Yeah.
And
I think Tom Homan was serious when he said, we're gonna move. They ain't staying. We're taking them out.
Mm-hmm. And I've seen a video of social media where a person was walking through New York City, and he said he's been walking through that area he's lived in New York City for years. And for the last 4, 5, 6 years, he's never seen it without homeless people selling contraband and different things and in tents and everything. And the streets were just regular, clean, no trash, no tents, no homeless, no contraband being sold. It was absolutely gorgeous.
Wow, that's awesome. I hope that comes to every town in America. I hope we get that pride back, and I hope that we help, have the funds to help those that have been homeless. A lot of them, are vets, and they've suffered from PTSD, and they lost their families, and they've lost, everything in their life. And so I pray that that's the world that we get to live in the future.
Yes, absolutely. And I think we do, like Trump said, it's the golden age is coming. And that is what we have coming. And we are going to see all of this truth coming out. So, the last thing I would like to see the truth come out, and it looks like it is coming out, is they're saying that Trump was given incorrect information about the COVID-19 and the vaccines and everything else. And so
wow.
That's now coming out as well.
Well, I tell you what, they'll make themselves an enemy if he finds out that and they pulled the wool over his eyes, because he don't play.
Yeah.